What up, what nuts, Humpty Dump Nuts, and we want the cup nuts. It is Friday, May 31st in the United States. It is noon. We are on time, and this is What Chaos. To my left is Pete Blackburn, a.k.a. Jim Pants. Further to my left is Sean DePaz, a.k.a. Jim Shorts. You're wearing shorts today. And I'm DJ Bean, a.k.a. The Third Revelation. Or I woke up feeling like the Third Revelation. Something with the Third Revelation.
How you feeling today?
Feeling great. You know why?
Why?
Because today's episode is brought to you by Bauer Hockey. Yeah, it's a Friday, you idiots. Head to Bauer.com/training to explore the full range of training gear like the Bauer Digital Reactor Dangler for stick handling drills or the Reactor Slide Board to help add strength to your stride. Use code FREESHIPWC for free shipping or visit a local Bauer retailer to get started today. I even thought about putting on some Bauer on my feetsies today, but I thought I'd be seated too weird.
With skates?
I have Bauer skates. I'm a Bauer client. I have Bauer skates and Bauer rollerblades. I was going to put on Bauer blades and just kind of do this.
Yeah, would that have the same effect as like a walking pad?
Good question,
you'd
Sean.
at least get some. You'd get some joints.
Would I burn any cows?
I feel like you got it right. Like maybe it'd probably be good for the calves if you're just.
I think it would more show
maybe good for your hips,
nervous energy on my part. Like if Pete's like, or if any of us are, if Pete's like 25 seconds into like a really good take, and I'm like really into it, and then maybe like he trails off or something in like 45 seconds, I'm like.
Well, I'm famously at the
not that any of us really do 45-second takes.
All-Star at the NHL All-Star Draft. There was like a video going around of all the guys when they were sitting on those little benches on the ice and their feet were going back and forth.
Swinging
that's what you'd be doing.
They were like, "Oh, I wonder when I'm going to get drafted." If only they knew. It was a fucking sham.
That was the first time that I've ever felt like an NHL player was relatable to me. It was when their feet were dangling off a bench because they couldn't reach the ground, so they just swung their legs around.
It was the only time I felt an NHL player was relatable to me because they didn't get picked for a team.
Nice.
What kind of bullshit was that with those envelopes? Yeah, you look good in your Bauer today.
Thank you. You too, buddy.
Sean, wish I could say the same for you.
I wore my Bauer yesterday and no one said anything about it.
Sean's a company man.
Sorry, my Bauer's at the cleaners.
I did. I wore my Bauer hoodie yesterday. It's the nicest, like the most comfortable hoodie I own. The highest quality hoodie I own.
Interesting. The chat is saying something about Pete being an oil man. I don't know why they're saying that. I just glanced at it. But I was thinking, I was like, oh, fuck you.
Dude, we swore you were going to notice as soon as you walked in. We thought you were going to notice for sure.
No.
He's just going to be thrown off for the entirety of the show from now on.
He's just taking care of it.
Oh, man. Now we're going to have to filibuster for fucking
the audio
2 minutes
listeners.
while DJ swaps over the jersey.
If you only listen on audio, check out the YouTube, subscribe, all that good stuff. We normally have the lockers in the background. DJ has had all Oilers jerseys. And today, Pete did a little rearranging, put all the Oilers jerseys behind him. I thought DJ was going to notice as soon as he walked in. Did not. And yeah, now he's changing them around to their rightful homes.
Yeah, I was sure that he was going to notice as soon as he walked into the studio and be like, "What the fuck? No." But
Here's what I noticed. I noticed that you took the Bruins hat off the table.
I did notice that as well.
yeah.
Which I'm not a superstitious man, but I generally haven't futzed with anything here. I was discussing yesterday with the Oilers Nation Everyday boys. What should I do with my blank Oilers jersey? I love this one so much. Oh God, I got to put the Rangers back there. I do want everything to fucking sing.
this man is famously not superstitious. Are you superstitious?
Not at all.
Not at all. But he has to have the same exact rotation of jerseys.
The Rangers jersey I had there.
It was this one. Unbelievable.
It seems like DJ's pretty superstitious for a non-superstitious
Not meeting
person.
the allegations, that's for
I
sure.
put Gretzky there because
He's an oil man.
I'm an oil man.
No, Gretzky shouted me out the other day.
That's true.
your
You're
tweet.
buddies now.
Gretzky said, "Oh shit, I gotta send DJ text saying thanks for that P shop, buddy." We didn't even talk about that. I did a Michael Scott whiteboard quote thing with Wayne Gretzky's incredible quote about the only thing that we know of we can glean is that you can't glean anything.
That's right.
What if 99 used glean?
Honestly, I haven't really heard many people use Glean since we've started doing it. Like Galvanize took off as soon as we started using Galvanize, and I feel like
Big
Glean,
time.
and I feel like Glean could be next.
Did you see, I think Mark Titus, did you see he asked yesterday if the Oilers are America's team?
So he stole that from us.
I was
too.
like, Pete was
love
trying
that.
to get that off the ground. Hey.
with
that-
Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, well, just using Canadian teams as America's team. And he said the Oilers are America's team because they're the underdog. They're the lowest seeded of the remaining teams, which, like, yes, technically.
Technically, yes.
Or nobody thinks the Oilers are the underdog because they're the Oilers, not because of their talent
Right.
or anything. But he said they're the underdog. They're a blue collar. They come from a blue collar town, et cetera, et cetera. So that's that. Yeah, you asked how I feel. I'm assuming you asked from like a Oilers perspective,
No, just from a Friday perspective.
tummy perspective.
Yeah.
Couldn't go rollerblading this morning.
Really?
My stomach hurt,
Oh no.
so I watched the Hacks finale. Incredible.
Really? Hell yeah.
I've been watching lots of good shit.
Hacks has been very good this season. So Hacks is a very good show. Renewed for season 4. Very excited about that.
Absolutely. Fantastic stuff. There was also interview. I forget her name. Hannah something Binder.
Waddingham?
The lead of Hacks.
I don't know her name. Ava?
Fantastic. Ava.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Do you think that Ava's a babe?
Yeah.
I think Ava is such a babe.
And
Hannah
Gene Smart's a babe too.
Einbinder. Hannah Einbinder.
Heinbinder.
Ein.
Einbinder.
E-I-N.
The god. But more importantly, her girlfriend Ruby is played by, I'm not a big like, what a hot celeb, but like one of my goats is Lorenza Izzo. And Ruby is played by Lorenza Izzo.
Ava in that show is from Waltham, Massachusetts.
Correct.
Which
So are you.
catches me by surprise every time they throw in a accurate Waltham reference.
You're from Waltham, Massachusetts in this show.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a what is this, a crossover episode?
The episode.
They had a Brandeis reference a couple episodes ago, and Brandeis isn't even the bigger college in Waltham, Massachusetts.
My favorite, Bentley, famously.
Yeah, right.
My favorite Waltham-ish reference was when she finally has a night on the town in Vegas. She's so lonely. She's not meeting anybody. And this guy takes a real liking to her, and he's so nice to her. And they find out they're both from Massachusetts. And he asks, were you a Papagino's house or a Bertucci's house? And she's like, whoa, are we fucking rich? Papagino's house. You think we're
That's
fucking going to
amazing.
Bertucci's? It's amazing. Then they do a bunch of coke together. They do Molly. They sleep together. And then he kills himself
Yep.
because he is like a horrible criminal.
Mm-hmm. And he was just trying to have the best last 24 hours of his life. Jumped out of a window.
Tell
that
you
was
what.
a crazy episode.
Got to hang and do drugs with Ava. Not the worst end to a life.
That's true.
Anyway, I liked the Eastern Conference Finals last night.
Speaking of ends of lives.
Are the Rangers near theirs?
Yeah. They should go on a 24-hour cocaine binge
Well,
before Game 6.
What worries me about the Rangers is that they're getting outplayed and not winning, which earlier in the series, they were able to do this thing
not good behavior.
where they got outplayed and won. And now something's going on. We'll ask Steve Peters in a little bit if he can explain it, where the Rangers are getting outplayed and they're not scoring a lot of goals. And they're also losing the game. So that's proving to be a tough combination for them right now, I would say. Although Chris Kreider got on the score sheet. First point of the series. Mika Zibanejad goes off for his first 2 points of the series. He has 2 assists. Pete changed the world yesterday because he texted our group and said, I think I'm doing Kreider anytime goal.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, yep, what a concept. I could use a little Kreider anytime goal myself, and we could all use a little change. So I tailed. I'm in a betting group on one of my betting apps, and all of my friends tailed me on that who don't even like hockey. And I usually send Hyman texts when Hyman scores. There were a lot of Kreiderman texts going on. You made a lot of people a lot of money.
Well, I love that. I mean, I don't love to be a selfish person, so I shared that. It was also my second straight night being a slump buster.
Whoa.
Because I had Leon Draisaitl the other night, and he scored his first goal. So, first goal in 3 games?
Yep.
So, a little bit of a slump buster. I might have to, I'll think on it, but I'm gonna have to heat check myself and do a Dallas Stars. Matt Duchene. I'm going to do a Matt Duchene.
Matt Duchene, parlay it. Duchene and Pavelski each get their first 3 points.
That would
of the
be the
series.
ultimate heat.
You're playing
heat
with
check.
fire now, yeah.
That's the ultimate heat check. But I'm going to say Matt Duchene.
I'll say Pavelski before Duchene because where the Oilers are right now, they're in good position in this series. That fucking guy would be Joe Pavelski right now, more so than Matt Duchene, wouldn't it? They're both awfully quiet, and they're both awfully unproductive. Also, you said
I think there's a bigger sample on Joe Pavelski just maybe being over the hill.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I also was on. So I got Draisaitl. I did an Oil Man parlay as I do for every Oilers game, and I was Draisaitl to score, Draisaitl over on shots, Ottinger over on goals allowed, whole smorgasbord.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to winning the game, also got a nice little. So I'm pretty hot myself, but it's half because I tailed you on Chris Kreider. But yeah, get in the lab, cook a little bit.
I called the Darnell Nurse point the other night too.
You did?
I think the show was just magic.
Put that shit on.
What did you think of the game last night?
I was very happy to see the Rangers guys get going. I loved Kreider's shorthanded goal. It was a very exciting moment, but I felt throughout the game like the Panthers were the better team. They should win. I was annoyed early in the third period. I thought 4 straight games of overtime. Here we go. And they break through. They break the 10 minutes left.
I don't feel like I've felt as emotionally invested in players and teams that I don't care about as much as I have these playoffs since Alex Ovechkin won his Stanley Cup. Like, I was sitting on the couch, and not simply because I had money on Chris Kreider to score a goal, but when Chris Kreider scored his goal from Mika Zibanejad, like those two connecting to kind of break their slump, I did the old clap on the couch and like did a fist pump. And I don't give a shit about either one of those guys. I don't give a shit if the Rangers win. For some reason, I'm just like invested in basically like all the players in these playoffs for the most part.
I completely agree, and I am going to miss this conference final round.
I'm going to miss the
very
playoffs.
dearly when it's done. I think that when the playoffs are done, there will for sure be a jumping off a trampoline type of feeling. But I'll tell you what, a jumping off a treadmill type of feeling. Although I suppose jumping off a trampoline, depending on how you land, you could actually injure yourself. So that's also a bad feeling.
Been there before.
What? You suffered a trampoline injury?
Yeah, honestly, one of the more like traumatic things that happened to me as a kid, and I'm being a little dramatic, but best friend, like in elementary school and stuff like that, had a trampoline. I don't know what we were doing, but we were playing with some kind of ball on a trampoline. Went off the trampoline. I made the mistake of leaning over the edge to try and grab it. Kids on the trampoline jumped, and so I went up,
Did you get launched?
slammed my ribs on the thing, and first time I think as like a conscious person where the air got completely knocked out of me and I thought I was dying. It was like, yeah, I thought it was legit over. I couldn't breathe and I was like, oh, this is how it ends. That's so tragic.
First time I got the wind knocked out of me was playing hockey, and there is no more confusing feeling of is this
You
it?
think you're dying, yeah.
Dying on a trampoline would be horribly embarrassing.
Right in front of my best friend
Horribly
too.
embarrassing.
Best friend who was richer than me too. Like he had a trampoline because his family had money and I didn't, and I'm just a little poor
You
broke
had to be
kid
rich
coming
to have
over.
a trampoline, especially
Yeah.
because like house insurance
Honestly,
like will not cover you if you have a trampoline.
shout out my friend because his parents were divorced and his mom remarried rich and moved to Canada.
Respect.
And so I went up to Canada all the time to their super nice house. And so, he glued up. I glue up with him.
Man. So how are you now with this friend?
I haven't seen him in a decade probably. We went to the same private high school and then he left after a year and I haven't seen him since.
If I had a rich friend try to kill me with the trampoline, I'd maybe not see him for 10 years as well.
Yeah.
I'd maybe take a little break from that quote unquote friend.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. But Panthers, I feel like this still goes 7. But if you're the Panthers right now, you've had 3 games of, I don't think the last night was as dominant as some other games in this series, but like 3 games in a row where you're like, yeah, we've established that we are the better team in this series and we are dictating the game completely. Yeah, the other team is getting better goaltending than we are, but we're still getting good Sergei Bobrovsky goaltending. So it was like I was saying last round with Jeremy Swayman, where you can get all excited that your team has the best or one of the best goalies remaining in the playoffs. But the deeper you get into the postseason, you're probably going to face a team with a good goalie. And as long as they have a good goalie, if they've got a good roster, they could fucking beat your guy who's standing on his head. Tuukka Rask is one of the best playoff goalies ever. And multiple times he ran into teams that were getting better play and worse goaltending.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is that Igor's been godlike and unbelievable at points, but he's been this like almost the sole reason why they've won those games. Like, you have to also be a good team with unbelievable goaltending. Like, you just can't require him to cash you out every game. And I feel like that's been mostly the case in this series. When we got to the third period of last night and Lundell got that goal, it just felt like that game was over immediately.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that it didn't end up technically being the game-winning goal. But did anybody think when he scored that goal and it kind of snuck under in the little armpit of Igor that game wasn't over at that point? The Rangers just weren't scoring.
I did.
Weren't generating.
And when Lafreniere scored, you know the feeling when your team is playing with a lead, a 1 or 2 goal lead, other team has the goalie pulled, they're pushing back, and you are just, your team is on their heels, but you are on their heels as well, and you are worried, and you're like, oh God, this is going to be a real stressful couple of minutes. Even as the Rangers cut into the lead, I didn't think for a second. So I have to walk over. I stream these overtimes from my PC, which takes a few minutes to start up. So if it's tied late or even close late, let's say there's 5-6 minutes left, I'll go over and I'll just turn on the computer, let it warm up and everything. I never even thought to get up and go get that puppy going. Did you? Like, as the Rangers were storming, like, there's no thought with this Panthers team that they're going to play with their food, as we say a bunch, or fuck around or blow it. Even the Stars, who we think are the most adult team, kind of blow leads semi-regularly.
But then they rebound.
And then, then they rebounded everything. But like the Panthers, they're
especially
generally in control the whole way.
In the third period, like if the Panthers take a lead on you in the third period, and it sounds funny because the Rangers have won 2 games in overtime in the series, but like, If the Panthers take a lead on you in the third period, they're such a good third period team, and there seems to be an air of inevitability when things are tilting their way in the third period that you're not coming back against them.
One stat that greatly favored the Panthers in last night's Game 5 was that the Panthers were only credited with 1 giveaway. There was a conversation in the postgame between a reporter and head coach of the Florida Panthers, Johnny the Joke Maker. Sean, could you give it to us?
Paul, you guys, according to the stat sheet, had just 1 giveaway tonight. Is that something that you...
That is awesome.
Is that something
Just don't tell me Bobrovsky had it.
No. Do you want to know who it was?
Yeah, who was it?
Eki.
Oh, he's out.
Is that something that you guys talked about? Or, I mean, you were surprised by it, so I don't know if...
No, you know what?
Hilarious. Enough.
Get the jokes out while you can. No, not only enough, because I don't want to be the guy. Like, I've gotten mad at Butchergross for this. I like to fuck around, have fun with hockey. It's my favorite sport, and I also like having fun. I don't like when people get protective over, like, hey, I'm the only one that gets to have fun with it. So I don't want us to say, Paul Maurice, don't make jokes during the game, because make jokes, whatever.
Make jokes, but make sure they're funny. Like, you know what we should start doing?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, all he did was laugh, and then everyone laughed.
Yeah. You know what we should start doing?
Power
We should
move.
start setting Paul Maurice press conferences with a laugh track.
Oh, yeah.
That would be a good bit.
Yeah, or just take old ones. Take ones where he's, like, mad or being serious, and just play it under it.
Ambassador Grease, great behavior. Oh my God, is he allowed to freaking say that? That's amazing.
Alex says
like,
he
that is
went
the energy.
there.
Yeah.
Oh shit! What? Yeah, you know what? You know what was a great Paul Maurice interview was after the Knights won the Cup last year. Paul Maurice with Jackie Redmond right after. It was like do you remember this?
No.
It was great. They had because they go to the losing coach. And it was a one-on-one, Jackie Redmond and Paul Maurice. And it was what cemented Jackie Redmond, in my mind, as like one of the greats in this business, because you're talking to a coach who just lost the Stanley Cup, and she handled the conversation so well. And he was like as affable as somebody who just lost the Stanley Cup can be. And he's explaining that like Matthew Tkachuk is dying, basically. Should not have been on the ice. Came back, did all this stuff. But play that. And then just like hammer a laugh track underneath it.
Yes.
Oh my God, Paul Maurice was so funny.
Paul Maurice needs to come out to the next press conference with a bag of frozen vegetables on his head. You know that meme with the woman in like the frozen aisle of the grocery store? And it's like, ha ha, she's so funny.
Oh, is that
And
a
it's
thing like
just-
making fun of white women?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Or just like somebody just being cringeworthy in trying to be so goofy and funny. And it's just a bag of frozen vegetables on her head.
Did you know that the over smiling portrait woman, do you know this?
Yes, yeah.
Do you know who that is?
No.
I also don't right now, but it's the daughter of maybe like Vince McMahon or so, like somebody very important in the wrestling world.
I don't think it's
Over smiling.
I
know
don't
even what you're
think
talking
that
about.
it's what's her name? Fucking
Steph McMahon?
Stephanie McMahon.
I don't,
Maybe it is.
It's
but I don't think so.
I
believe
don't even
it.
know how you would
She
search.
does have a very big smile.
What's that?
She's got like a very I guess distinct smile.
Someone's gonna know the name of the person I'm talking about. Maybe I'm not a wrestler.
I just don't know the meme you're referencing.
It's a portrait of a woman who happens to be white, smiling like way too much, like to doing one of these, Sean. Like, and there's just like no way if you're getting a portrait taken that you're like reacting that.
Yeah.
Unless you're fucking watching a Paul Maurice press conference.
Oh yeah, really really funny stuff. Did you not get it? Did you not? Are you efforting?
I'm trying to look it up, but I can't find it. It's just a bunch of smiling.
Okay,
women.
somebody. Olivia says that it's in the Discord.
Oh, okay.
Olivia, put it in here. Can you not put it in here?
No.
No.
Okay.
It's YouTube's chat is very.
Stephanie McMahon.
It
is
is.
Stephanie-
It is Stephanie McMahon.
Stephanie McMahon.
No
Deej.
way.
Fucking did it.
Oh no, she Olivia put in the girl with the frozen vegetables on her head.
Oh, but that's not
She's
Stephanie.
so crazy. Love her.
I mean, that she is crazy.
She is crazy.
I love her for that. That's so crazy that she did that. Today's episode, by the way, brought to you by Bauer Hockey. Head to bauer.com/training to explore the full range of training gear like the digital reactor dangler for stick handling drills or the reactor slide board to help add strength to your stride. Use code FREESHIPWC for free shipping or visit a local Bauer retailer to get started today.
This is a Stephanie McMahon.
Yes, that's Stephanie McMahon.
Yeah.
I told you.
Shout out Stephanie
This
McMahon.
one.
She's awesome.
Really?
Yeah. Her dad, not so much, but she's still
Yeah.
around. She's
She
married to
stinks.
Triple H.
No, he stinks. Sorry.
Yeah.
But like you're cool with
Yeah, she's still like around in WWE kind of.
She's still married to Triple H.
Yep.
Nice.
Triple H like runs WWE basically.
Tell us
at
about
this point.
Game Time, Pete, if you wouldn't mind.
You can get tickets to
Game
WWE
Time.
on Game Time.
What's up?
So you can get tickets to WWE on Game Time.
Oh, you can get tickets to WWE on Game Time, according to Sean. I'm not a wrestling guy, so I wouldn't know that. But I do know about Game Time because it is my preferred ticket app because they're so transparent, no secrets. They won't ambush you with hidden fees. They're very upfront. They got their all-in pricing, and they're obsessed with finding you ways to save money on tickets. They got deals right up to the start of events, even an hour after it starts. So if you're, pretty indecisive, you don't know if you want to go to the game, but you want to get the best deal, Game Time got you covered. They also got zone deals. You can pick the section, and Game Time will pick the seats for an average of 18% savings. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHAOS for $20 off your first purchase. You seem like you want to say something.
I used Game Time I used a zone deal to get tickets to the Stanley Cup, and they put me in the bone zone.
Nice. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHAOS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, you just create an account, use the code CHAOS. If you're an idiot, here's how to spell it, CHAOS, and you get $20 off. Download Game Time today and get last-minute tickets at the lowest price guaranteed.
I like the boy larks for the wrestling people. It's time to play the game. Time to play the game is like the.
You need to speak louder. I couldn't even hear you
what's
right
wrong?
there.
I was kind of. It's time to play the game.
Oh, time to play.
It's time to play the game. It's the.
I wanna play a game.
It's Triple H's intro music.
Oh, I thought you were
time to play.
doing. I want to play a game.
No.
You ever seen Saw?
You ever seen Saw?
No.
Sean?
Nope.
But
You've never seen Saw?
No, we've had this conversation.
You have
Oh, yeah,
the
we
letters
have.
SAW in your first name,
That
and you
is true.
haven't seen Saw?
That is
Sean?
true.
Oh my, he's so crazy. I love her.
Explains why I haven't seen Jaws. No J. Letter short.
Do we ever end up finding out what old Dreyfus did?
Oh, he wore a dress on stage and made transphobic jokes.
So wearing a dress on stage, terrific behavior. I bet he cooked. Did he look good?
I have no idea.
Famously, he looked amazing in every scene in Jaws. Every time I watch Jaws, I'm like, God, can this guy not be the hottest fucking person I've seen in my life for 1 second?
Sean, you ever seen Jaws?
No.
No
What
J.
the fuck?
There's no J in his name.
That's true.
No J.
Should we bring in a guest?
Let's bring in a guest. Let's bring in Steve Peters, longtime video coach of the Coyotes, longtime friend of ours, PHNX hockey podcast, everything. Hi, buddy. ESPN, you know.
Yeah, how we doing today, guys? I literally have been listening for the last 15 minutes. No idea what you guys are talking about. Like once in a while, you'll throw in a hockey thing, but I don't know. Like you guys are just like memes. I'm not even sure what a meme. No, I know what a meme is. But look what I did for you, DJ. Oh, wrong way. See my camera? Look at that. I got my little oil display up right now. I got a little Grant Fuhr. I got a puck up. So I did my. I'm not an oil man yet.
Oh, you should be an oil man. You should. I mean, you're a
Starting to
former
believe
goalie. You're going to come around on Stu Skinner. I just know
Yeah, I
it.
know. Yeah, just if you didn't play the first period, maybe you play Pickard for the first period. Maybe that's the new game plan, and then you throw Stu Skinner out for the second and third. Maybe.
Can I ask you this? Which team so far would you say is playing the best of the remaining teams? Like Panthers, definitely not. It's Panthers.
It's Panthers. Not even
Has
close.
to be.
Yeah,
Explain.
Yeah, they're and you know what they're doing is they're doing it in all three zones, and they're living and dying by the way they play, and they play very aggressive in all three zones. And what that does when you play that aggressive and that man on man, and you play that style, you're going to give up opportunities, and that's literally why they lost game 3 in overtime, is because they're too aggressive off of the faceoff, and that style they're not going to change. That's how they play. And they do not give you room. And you look at the New York Rangers on the power play, who have 5 unbelievable players that have played together since 2017, and they can't get an opportunity. They can't get a sniff. They can't get through the neutral zone clean. They can't get out of their zone clean. Florida is just that good right now. And one of the things they're not doing is they're not taking a lot of penalties, and they play that style. I'm really impressed with your team, though, with the Oil. And I can't believe I'm saying that, because coming into this series, I thought it was going to be Stars in a runaway. I really did, just because of the way that the Edmonton Oilers defend. But when you start looking at what they're doing now, they're not giving the Dallas Stars any room between the blue lines, like nothing. Like the Dallas Stars, and what Dallas needs to do next game, you saw it in the Jamie Benn goal, the first goal of the game, where he flips it over and they're able to elude some of that pressure through the blue lines. They got to start dumping and go and get the puck. And I don't know if they really just want to use their speed and their skill trying to get through the blue lines. And they got Rupe Hintz back, and buddy, you got to dump the puck because you're not getting through. And on the other side of the puck, the Oilers through the neutral zone are elite. They're the best team left in the playoffs right now, getting through the blue lines with speed. And it's Draisaitl and McDavid, clearly, that helps push the defense back. But they're getting through the neutral zone way too easy. And Dallas is going to have to solve it.
Do you feel that Dallas is more content to ice the puck than they have been in past series? Because I that's something that stood out to me. And I know, like, Panthers are a team that in the regular season didn't give a shit. They're like, well, let's just flip the puck down the ice. If we catch up to it, we catch up to it. Is Dallas, to you, trying to counter the difficulty they're having getting through the neutral zone by just saying, fuck, we'll just throw it down the ice and see what happens?
I think you're seeing that both from the Rangers and from Dallas. And it's because they can't elude the pressure of the two teams they're playing against. When you watch an Oilers shift and they can get you hemmed in your zone for 30 plus seconds, and most of that action is around the blue paint. And let's face it, again, we're going to have to talk about McDavid and Draisaitl. When they're on the ice, that action is in tight, and Hyman, like, they're getting to the blue paint, and you get tired. Even if the Dallas Stars were able to get out of their zone, now they're too tired to play on the offensive side of the puck. So sometimes you just got to ice the puck and live another day and see if you can get through it. And that's the way I feel with the Rangers series too. It's icing after icing after icing because they're just hemmed in and they can't get out. And I cannot believe the Dallas Stars we hear a lot about their skilled defense, but man, I don't know. They're just not getting the puck out of the zone clean anymore. And you look at the guys that are on the ice for their goals against. It's Tanev on the first one. It's Heiskanen on the second one. And I know what's everybody's saying. Well, Tanev's in a boot. Yeah, well, Tanev gave up 2 goals in game 2 that were horrific. Like, cool your jets, Turbo. Like, their good D have to be better D, and they're just not right now.
Do you think they stand a chance if Tanev is a shell of himself or absent from the lineup? Like, their defense is significantly less imposing without him in the lineup, regardless of whether or not he's been as good as possible.
Suter stinks. Petrovic stinks.
Suter's so bad.
Like,
And
they
Suter's the
basically
guy.
have 2 pairs and 5 defensemen right now as is. If Tanev's out, like, they're in really rough shape.
And I pick on Tanev, but you're right. He is the best of what they have, and he's got that grit. He's got a good stick. He can defend the blue paint. But Suter, no. Just
He
if
was
I'm
cooked last year.
Buddy, he was awful last year in the Western Finals, like literally awful. And McDavid, if you're McDavid on the bench and you see number 20 on the ice in green, do you not think you're pulling your groin, getting over the boards? Like, get me out there. Like, get me. I want to get out there against number 20. Like, he's rotten. It's time. Beat it. Like, you got bought out once. Do it again. Like, please. Yeah, I think they're in trouble. And I cannot believe I'm saying this because I really like Dallas. Edmonton has done something I think I didn't think they could do, and that's defend. And their ability to stop the speed of the Stars through the neutral zone has been impressive. I do believe this, and I know DJ's not going to like this. Skinner, he can't give up those goals. Like that first goal of the game, and we said this, I was almost texted you after 2, and I decided not to rub it in. But after it was 2-0 Stars, I go, uh-oh, no overtime show again tonight. And I was right, but for the wrong reason. He buckles it down. And once he gets that confidence, he just needs to get one big save, and then all of a sudden, okay, Skinner's okay. But he needs to get that first one. And he didn't get that early in the first period. And they had a chance. Stars had a chance. Sagan had a chance. And Hintz had the breakaway. Like, Stars could have made that 3-0, and I think this one's over. But he didn't. He buckles it down, and then he tightens up.
I know Pete has a question, but that is completely correct. He does need to make one save. And Pete pointed out yesterday, he's allowed a lot of goals on the first shot of the game.
10 times
Which
this season.
He said that to me as if it was going to surprise me. And I was like, oh, I totally believe that because you are right. He does need to make one early save. Fortunately, he's played for the Oilers all season, so he's had the opportunity to make a big save early in the game because they'll typically trade chances and he'll make a big save, whether it was on Dadonov in game 1 or whatever. Like, he does get anything under his belt, and then he's like, okay, I'm fine. And we typically do know in the first 10 minutes of the game whether they have good stew or they have bad stew. Game 2, I was jokingly about to text Pete and Sean 5 minutes into the game, stew locked in, ? Because he hadn't faced a shot yet, and then he allowed a goal on the first shot of the game. So, like, we're not making that up when we say, like, that is for real. He does need to make a save to get him in, and then once he's in, he's typically pretty good. I don't have the most confidence in him, though, just because there is the other side of that.
But you guys were talking about good goaltending before I came on, and who is the guy? Like, right now, it's, to me, it's Shesterkin. Like, Shesterkin's been outstanding, but they're on the verge of being out of this series. So then what? And Bobrovsky's been good, Ottinger's been good, and Stu Skinner's been good. I mean, there's nobody. I don't think you can say. I mean, Stu Skinner's probably led in some of the goals he probably shouldn't, but as a whole body of work, I think those 3 have played fairly even. So once you get, if Shesterkin's out, honestly, I think those 3 are pretty up for grabs and even for who's been the next best goalie in this conference final.
Can you explain to me the difference between Game 3 and Game 4 of the Edmonton and Dallas series, where in Game 3, Dallas was able to set up in the zone and have sustained pressure, and they were really good down low and on the walls. And then in Game 4, almost every possession for Dallas was like one and done and going the other way. So, like, what happened and how do they fix that?
It's part of it too isn't just system play. Part of it is, and I think the Edmonton Oilers defense moved the puck much had in the last game, and I think they had much more success in getting puck retrievals to get those pucks out of the zone. But for Dallas, I don't know if it's shot selection or if they need to get more shots to the net. They haven't been able to find the net in game 4. I would see them, honestly, in game 5, if I'm the Dallas Stars, everything's going back to the point. We're going to get shots on net and we're going to converge at the goal. And that's one of the things, like you look at Joe Pavelski and Robertson, that's how they have their most offensive success, is when they can get pucks to and around the net. Edmonton was impressive. And, one of the guys that made a big difference in game 4, and people might not want to hear it, is Corey Perry. And Corey Perry's a guy, he's not a speedster anymore, let's face it. But what Corey Perry does, he plays in the right spot. You go back and watch him in the defensive zone. He's between the hash marks. They can't get to the inside. He's got a great stick, and he's a really, really smart player. He's pain in the ass, but in the defensive zone, he's smart. And I think when you put him on the ice and you put him out there with Draisaitl, now they're not giving up any opportunities on that line. It's hard to hem McDavid in. It just is. So now you got the top 2 lines, and you're not giving up those opportunities because you're defending much better. I thought the sticks for the Edmonton Oilers in their defensive zone were phenomenal. And when we were talking about their sticks, they're just blocking shooting lanes, they're blocking passing lanes. Again, I cannot believe I'm saying this to DJ. That team looked actually really, really good.
No, I'm surprised by it too. I picked the Oilers to win the series, but I said I expected the Stars to win the series because, well, we're not dummies. We've seen what the Stars have been all season. They're deep and they're structured, and they've got a great steady Eddie coach. On the other side of it, we're now seeing like depth has won out in favor of the Oilers, which is the biggest surprise to me. It doesn't tell all, but the fact that the Oilers have gotten more goal scorers through 4 games stuns me. I would have expected that depth would be working out in favor of the Stars. Instead,
That could flip on the drop of a hat, though.
well, when? I mean, we're still waiting for Pavelski. We're waiting for Duchesne. You just said before you don't think either of those things are happening.
Stankoven.
I'm not confident. Stankoven, I think, has 1 point in the series, so there's more guys that can get going there. But last game, you saw Knobloch and Holland react to their pieces not fitting the way they wanted. They made drastic changes. We haven't seen huge changes from DeBoer. Does he do that going home now for game 5?
I don't think so. It's just a matter of you've got to get your big players to be big players. And for the Dallas Stars, they just haven't been. And Joe Pavelski right now has been a huge disappointment in this series. Duchene's a guy that is going to have that secondary scoring and using his speed. He's not finding any room. Pavelski just isn't getting the puck, and he can't. He looks slow in this series, and that's surprising to me with Joe Pavelski.
You're being very generous by saying this series, by the way.
I was going to say,
I know.
And also, why is it surprising to you?
I really like Joe Pavelski. I thought he was one of the keys to the Western Conference last year. I think he's one of the biggest reasons Dallas was where they were a year ago. And this year he's really dropped off. I don't know. You see him changing in the lines from last year with Robertson and Hintz. And I think that he kept up with the speed of that line. He no longer can do that. So he's changing in the lineup. I don't know if Pete DeBoer can do much with the changing of the lineup. The other thing we haven't mentioned even yet is that the Edmonton Oilers are doing this with no power play goals. And this is the team that we thought that's how they're going to win the series. They're going to get power plays. Dallas is going to take stupid penalties. You got guys like Suter and Ben. They're going to take dumb penalties, and Edmonton's going to walk through. They don't have a power play goal yet. And that makes it even more impressive, because what happens when they start getting hot on the power play? This series could get ugly, and I can't believe I'm saying that for the other way, because you talked about the depth. It is those depth guys that are scoring. McDavid is leading the way, and he's playing much better. Every time he touches the puck, something could happen. Like he just has that. He's got the McDavid swagger back that I didn't think he had in the last series. He had it in glimpses, but right now when he's on the ice, man, he's fun and exciting. And now it's other guys though.
So
he hasn't really taken over.
There hasn't been a 4-point McDavid game.
There hasn't been a McDavid game, and you're right. I thought last game was his best game of the series, but it wasn't like the McDavid show. It was just things were happening when he had the puck.
So can we ask then something that we discussed the last couple of days, which is last round against Vancouver, defensively, numbers wise, a comparable team to Dallas. We had so many questions about if McDavid was about to pass away, if he was injured, all these things that were going on. Why does he look so much better against Dallas than he did against Vancouver?
I don't know if against Vancouver he's trying to do everything by himself. And I think right now he's comfortable being the guy, like you just said. He's not getting this 4-point nights, but yet he walks away still the best player on the ice. And it's not just because he's providing offense. One of the things that happens when he's on the ice is you have the puck more. And when you have the puck more, you're tiring out the opposing defense. You're making that team unable to score because they're hemmed in their own zone. And I think, honestly, he's comfortable with that in this series. He just seems to, last round, didn't he seemed frustrated all the time. You showed his face and he was mad and he was angry and he was frustrated because he wasn't getting the points. Now he seems like I'm okay with what I'm doing. This is okay. This is my role. I've got the puck, which is fine. And if we score, we score. If we don't, they didn't. And I think he's just become really confident and comfortable in just being Connor McDavid, and it's made a huge difference because he is good enough to defend. But one of the things with Connor McDavid, when he gets frustrated, he makes mistakes, just like everybody does. When you get frustrated, you make mistakes because you're trying to do too much, and I don't think he is. I think he's being himself, and I think that's made a huge difference in this series.
Are you good with the Oilers in Dallas?
I could go a million different directions.
I
So
do
you
want
could
to
go where you want.
I do want to talk about the Eastern Conference Final eventually.
Oh, yes.
Say again?
No, yeah, that's fun too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess the last bow I would put on it, and you mentioned the power play thing, like, I'm not getting ahead of myself as an Oilers fan, but I do know that a lot of people are starting to now favor the Oilers in the series just because there's a shoe to drop still for them, and it's going to happen at some point. Who knows? Maybe they're down 3-0 in the game, though, by the time their power play gets going, but that is still something that can happen. The last thing I actually will ask on the Oilers is, how do you view the Darnell Nurse thing? Because it went from everybody noticing how poorly he was playing to, oh, if you're saying that he's playing poorly, you don't know what you're talking about. Bieksa the other day was pushing back big on that, saying he went back and watched all the Oilers' goals against, and none of them are Darnell Nurse's fault. I mean, Darnell Nurse has literally scored 2 goals for the other team, so pump your brakes there, Bieksa. Is there something, though, to, like, are we overstating he's been on the ice for 20 even strength against, 23 in all situations?
If plus minus is a tricky stat because it's not the player that's on the ice. It may not be his fault. With Darnell Nurse, yes, he needs to defend better. But one of the things with Darnell Nurse, his strengths is his ability to move puck and jump up in the play. And I think now he's focused, even in the last game, I thought he was better defensively than he had been in games 2 and 3. But yeah, I think it was overstated, but no, it is a difference. Darnell Nurse has to be dominating in the defensive zone. He needs to be more physical. He's got to pin Dallas Stars to the wall, and he's got to forget jumping into the play until they get the puck out of the zone. And I think that's another thing that Darnell sometimes gets focused on, is he's thinking offense before the puck's out of the zone. So he needs to be better. He needs to be one of their best defenders. Like, Darnell Nurse eats those kind of minutes that he's got to be able to provide both things, but I'm not giving him a free pass. When you give up those kind of the opportunities around your net, you need to be stronger on your stick. You need to be under stick. You need to be more physical. He's a big guy that needs to be more physical on the smaller forwards of the Dallas Stars. He needs to be better defensively. So not a free pass, but yeah, his minuses don't necessarily reflect what he's been to the Oilers in this series.
I just think he's been too good a player in his career for us to do that.
For
One of the more important players on this roster is underperforming. Relax, guys.
We're not asking him to
they
be
want him to they want and probably need him to be more like himself.
Yeah, and you're not asking him to be a Norris guy. You're just asking him to not be like the biggest liability on the ice outside of his partner, and he hasn't been that. So I want to switch gears to the other conference, and we're talking about a guy who has underperformed on the blue line. Let's talk about a guy who has kind of emerged as maybe one of the best defensemen in the entire NHL in Gus Forsling. Like, where would you rank Gus Forsling amongst the league's best defensemen at this point?
We talk a lot about the Carolina defense, the Carolina Hurricanes with Slavin and the guys they have defending there. Forsling has been elite. Like, the one thing about Gus Forsling is it's not just the offensive side. He gets the big goal last night by a juicy backhand. That was sick, by the way. Phenomenal offensively. He can get the puck through the neutral zone quickly. He can jump in the rush quickly. His ability to defend and get back into the plays and his good stick and break up 2-on-1s, he's phenomenal. He plays both sides of the puck, and you're right. He is the best defenseman left right now. He is. And I think Schneider's done some good things for the New York Rangers, and I think that goes a little bit unnoticed. Forsling is phenomenal. And to think the Carolina Hurricanes waived him, oh boy, howdy. Whoops.
Yeah, like that's the craziest thing
the
to me.
biggest fuck up. The team that
always gets
defensemen.
the defenseman.
Yes,
The team that loves defensemen more than any other team in the entire NHL looked at that guy and was like, nah, we're good, thanks.
We had Sarah Simeon on the other day, and she obviously covered the Hurricanes for a long time, and I was like, how did that happen?
Like, it happened with the Blackhawks, and you can look at that and be like, yeah, well, they're fucking idiots a lot of the time. Like, but the Carolina Hurricanes, it's so good at evaluating defensemen and valuing defensemen. Cast that guy off. Crazy. I'm glad you mentioned the offensive part of his game, because I think largely he's been profiled as an incredible defensive defenseman for good reason. But we've seen in these playoffs, he scored 4 goals in the playoffs. and that tops his entire. He's got 4 goals in 16 games, and previously had 3 goals in like 37 of his previous playoff games. Is this just a case of a guy needing to shoot more and having a little bit more confidence behind his offensive game, or has that developed?
It's a couple of things. One, I think it has developed his confidence, but I do think he's a defenseman that thinks defense first, and he thinks the responsible side of the puck first. And when you think that side first, you don't always take that opportunity to join the rush. You don't always come in off of the blue line. You think, okay, if I don't have the support, I'm going to stay here. Where you have some offensive defensemen don't give a shit. Like, I'm going. I don't care. I'm not going to play the other way. I think that's his cerebral part of the game allows him to see this as a spot I better not go. And even last night when he scores the goal, which is phenomenal goal, but you watch him through the neutral zone and him getting out of his own zone, his ability to use his feet to get out of trouble is amazing. Even if it doesn't translate into a scoring opportunity in the other direction, it does allow their team to not defend as much. So I don't know the last time I've seen him make a mistake, and that's incredibly rare for a defenseman to go, gosh, you've been so solid on all 3 zones. You feel good when he's on the ice. I don't know if Florida can put him out in any situation, and you're going to be okay. And I think that's what's been a problem for the New York Rangers. Their top guys haven't been top guys because they just aren't getting opportunities anywhere close to the blue paint.
What do you think his ceiling is? Like, could you see him being a guy that gets a good amount of Norris votes?
I think he can now. I don't think he could have
Yeah.
before. It's one of those. If you play for Pittsburgh, New York, Boston, Toronto, you're gonna win because everybody sees you every weekend. People are seeing him now, and people I think are now putting him on their list. That, God, this kid can play, and I think that's definitely going to help him. It'll be Norris talk next year for sure, if he continues to play like this. I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's seemed like the biggest at the beginning of the playoffs. We talked about like who's going to be the guy that I always use the example of 2011. Patrice Bergeron won a million Selkies because the Bruins made a deep playoff run, and people were like, "Oh, Patrice Bergeron's a really good defensive player," and everyone was like, "Did you not know that?" And then he was kind of in the club.
People were talking about Heiskanen being that guy this year, but I think
that
more
is true.
so it's
No,
Forsling.
I was just gonna say, I feel like very bad playoffs from Miro Heiskanen because this was supposed to be him, and now Forsling's doing it.
Was it
not
you
very
that said
bad,
with
but
us?
he
hasn't had the best series.
Was it you that said with us if the Stars won this round that Miro Heiskanen was going to win the Norris next year? Somebody said that with us, or maybe
Wasn't
Sean
me,
said
but
it, or I said it, or something.
I think
Sean
Elliot
sounds like
Friedman said it on 32 Thoughts that like if
Heiskanen,
that's right.
Yes,
If
that's right.
Heiskanen shuts down Connor McDavid in the series, he's going to get a ton of Norris consideration next year.
But isn't that the matchup you want? Forsling and McDavid? Like I do now. I didn't before, but Forsling, McDavid, but yes, bring it. Because Forsling can skate. One thing McDavid can out skate, and that's the other thing Dallas defense are doing. They're backing up because they have to. Like there's so much room to the neutral zone because if you have a tight gap, you're done. So let's see Forsling handle McDavid. I can't wait. Well, I can't.
If that happens, do you do Draisaitl on the first line with McDavid? Because at least give an opportunity for McDavid to make it more McDavid Ekblad than McDavid Forsling.
I don't know. I think it depends on what your home or road, who gets your last changes. I like when they split them up. I think it gives you a 1-2 punch that you can't protect everybody all the time. The one thing with Florida though, their defense are so deep. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who I'm a huge fan of Oliver Ekman-Larsson, he's had a great series because he's not the guy anymore. He's a lower pair guy that just goes out and plays. And I think their whole top 6, they're the best defense left in the series.
Why do you think Pete calls it sogless behavior? You've cut games and studied games for a million years. Have you ever seen such a long stretch where entire games are having 8-10 minute stretches of teams not getting any pucks on net?
Shots. Yeah, it's insane right now. This whole playoffs has been like that. You look up at the clock and go, oh my God, they haven't had a scoring chance. I do believe it's because the defending has become so much better. I think teams are so much more structured in how they're going to defend that they limit that time and space for the opponents. And you're seeing teams right now playing much smarter, especially in these tight games. You're not seeing teams taking those offensive chances. And we talked about de-pinching or jumping in on the play. When you get those rallies going back and forth, you don't see that anymore. But guys are playing way too smart. No one wants to be the guy making that mistake, so they don't make make mistakes. And when you don't make mistakes, you don't get scoring chances and you don't get penalties. And I think you're seeing a lot of that right now. Everybody is defending so tight. And it's not just Florida and Edmonton. I mean, all 4 teams are doing that. They're defending extremely well and they're not giving up opportunities. And some might say it might be a little boring when you go those long stretches, but I think it's really good hockey when you could defend these top players to that ability for that long. It is really fun to watch until you get sitting in the penalty box, and then you've got to see some of these power plays pick it up. Florida power play has not been great, although they've been better in this series. Rangers power play has been non-existent, and Dallas and Edmonton don't have a power play goal between them in this series. So I think if you're going to win the Cup this year, your power play is going to have to get going.
A question from the chat. Do you have any thoughts or maybe even a pick on the Stanley Cup? Are you invested in that at all?
You know, I'm not. I heard you talking about it. I wish I did. I go with whoever DJ picks. It is amazing. It is amazing because I'm old and I feel it. But you know how much hockey I watch? Like, it's just like I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I've been watching hockey since. As soon as we get off, I'm going to watch hockey again. Like, and there's only 4 teams playing. Like, I don't wait. Forward me the pup thing. I'll have a pick for next week. Is there a beagle?
You know what's crazy though? Like,
is there a beagle? I'll pick a beagle. I like beagles.
There is. I don't know if is Jay Beagle going on. If they don't do Jay Beagle, then they'd be crazy.
Oh, Jay Beagle.
But like my excuse for everything with any sort of social commitment. Not that I have many out there, but I'm just watching hockey every night. I'm watching. All I'm doing is watching hockey, and I'm taking notes and I'm learning and I'm seeing it the way that I see it, but. I feel like are you watching each game like 400 times, or are you just good like that?
I got to watch it at least twice. But you have to, because when you watch it the first time, you get the highlights, you get the, oh yeah, that guy did that. But then you have to watch it again because you go, oh, and then what you do, it's funny because I tell you, Pete took a lot of heat for showing me a picture of his socks, and who gives a shit, by the way, Pete? No offense.
No, it was bad behavior. You can't do it. It was gonna ruffle a lot of feathers.
Is it like you don't have to? If you're wearing pants,
I know. Live and let live.
But I was thoroughly impressed that the notebook with the pen was right there. Like, note taking. I don't take notes during the game. That's impressive. Like, you guys both. Look at you guys. Like, that's unbelievable preparation.
I used to do that. I started doing it again this playoffs because, like, when there were 2, 3, 4 games a night, it would just all fucking blend together. And then the next morning, I'd show up here and I'd be like, what the fuck happened last night? So I've had to get back into the habit of just taking notes and jotting down just, just
like
cursory things that remind me of things that I want to talk about, which brings me to a point.
Yes,
a guy that I wanted to mention was Anton Lundell, because I think one of the most important things that you can have as a true Stanley Cup contender is a good third line center. And he didn't have the game-winning goal because of that fucking garbage time goal with the skater pulled last night, but essentially had the game-winning goal. He's emerged to me as a guy that is extremely important to the makeup of that team. Like, he's getting most of his minutes against the Panarin line, which Panarin has not been very good in this series. Call me. Am I crazy by like profiling him as like an Anthony Cirelli plus type for this Florida team?
Yeah, I think he's incredibly important. And I think when you look through the middle of the ice on all of these teams, you have to have that or you're not successful. You need Draisaitl and you need McDavid. You need those top end guys. You need Barkov, Kachuk. But a guy like Lundell, he does the little things right. And to your point, defends extremely well. He's quick on pucks. He drives the net really well when they're on the offensive side of the puck, and you need those little things again because you're going to throw out Barkov on the next shift, and for Hagee, you're going to get that, but you've got to be able to get out at least even when you're playing your bottom 6 forwards, and you put him on the ice, you just feel safe. He's a jack of all trades, Swiss Army knife kind of guy that could provide a little bit of everything for your team. So if you're going to win, you go back to Kadri for the Colorado Avalanche, where you needed a guy lower in the lineup that did the things right. He was one of the guys that really propelled that team to a Stanley Cup. And I think this is the guy that's going to go unnoticed and probably an unsung hero of this team that's just going to do the little things right to allow them, the big stars, the top 6, to continue to put the puck in the net. And he's going to be the guy that holds the fort down. Yeah, he's been exceptional in this series. And he's a guy, if you haven't watched him, keep your eye on how well and how tight his gaps are and how good his stick is and how well he is defensively. But when the puck gets on their stick, how well he gets to the net and distributes that puck to. He's been absolutely elite.
What do you think the Rangers need to do with their lineup? Like, because I think that it's hit a point where they need to do something. They're just not getting enough. I know Mika and Chris Kreider finally kind of broke through, but their big guys are just not making enough noise. Is that a case of, just Florida's forechecking is too good to overcome, or like what would you do with the lineup to free some of those guys up?
Well, the one of the guy, it's funny. Like they put Hedel up there on the top line, and they finally get and break through. I like their lines. Like you look at Lafreniere with 16 and 10. The Panarin Trocheck line's a very, very good line. I don't know if you can adjust the lines. I think you need to adjust the way they're playing. And I think for me, it's they're trying so hard. This is a team that's been able to get north to south. Through from their breakout to the other end of the ice throughout the regular season with ease. They've made these long passes. They've been able to go east to west and get up the ice really quickly, and they can't do that against Florida. And I don't know if they've been able to just go, hey, you know what? We've got to get the puck off the glass and win those races in the neutral zone and try to get the puck out of our defensive zone first and then get the play out to the neutral zone. Again, teams with really high skilled forwards don't want to play that way. They want to carry the puck through the neutral zone. They want to be the guy that makes the nice play at the blue line, the drop pass. They can't do that right now. So what you have to do is you got to revert to simple hockey. And simple hockey is off the glass and out, make the foot races with the defense on the other way. And one of the things with Florida's defense, and we talked about how mobile they are and how good they are, but one of the things they do is they hold the blue line tight. You watch Ekblad at that blue line. He's not leaving early. So you get the puck behind him, and then you make that race. Get Panarin and Ekblad going through the neutral zone. I'd like to see Rangers simplify, and I want to see it in the offensive side too, because they can't do those great rushes, those 3-on-2 plays. They haven't been there through game 4 of the series. So if or through 5 now, if you can't do that, you need to dump the puck and go get it. I don't know if they've got the mentality to play that way right now. They need to simplify and make this game easier on themselves, because last game was their worst game for getting pucks out of their zone. Their turnovers in the defensive zone last night were horrific. They have to simplify and get pucks out of the zone first.
Lastly, we'll ask you about the morning skate in Dallas right now. So Dallas has an optional skate. Tough to glean what's going on there. Sam Carrick going into the lineup for Derek Ryan in Edmonton. Does that make any impression on you?
Right now it's all about who's got the freshest body. The one thing in the playoffs, especially on these day off, you don't know what guys are going through in the locker room. You've seen the grinds there. I think you're probably looking at a pair of healthy legs going in. It doesn't. I like Carrick. I think he's got a little bit of grit that I think they're going to need in Dallas tomorrow. I'm not reading too much, and I don't think that's a huge difference for me. Ryan for Carrick isn't a game changer like you saw with when they put Corey Perry and McLeod in. That's a huge change. That's a huge change in
Plus,
their lineup.
at this point, you cannot question anything that Chris Knobloch does. So that guy has his finger on the pulse. That guy has his finger underneath the skin, physically touching the pulse.
The "he's a genius" chant is starting to, I read that yesterday. Is he a hockey genius? I'm like, buddy, you look down your bench and you see McDavid and Draisaitl and go, okay, you two guys go. We could do that.
Hey,
what?
Okay, Brian Burke. do you guys remember when somebody, I think it must have been in Toronto, someone was like, do you think that maybe you need to follow the Pittsburgh model of building a team? And he was like, being given Sidney Crosby? Yeah, I'd like to follow that fucking model.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Knobloch's a good coach, but you know what he does? You know what he's been able to do? He's been able to tap and make Connor McDavid happy. And if you make your better players happy, I think that goes an incredibly long way. I think he's a good players coach. I think he gets the relationships really well. And when you talk about those lineup changes and having a pulse, that's a guy that knows what's going on inside his locker room. And I think that's important, especially in 2024, that you know your team, meaning you've got relationships. You're a personable guy. You're a nice guy. And I will talk about the coaching carousel at some other time. Actually, Lee and I are talking about it today, because everybody seems to think there's some great moves coming. I'm not so sure, because I think you have to evolve as a coach, and that's one thing Knobloch has done. He does create those relationships, and I do think that that's what's been able to help his better players feel more comfortable and be able to show what they're doing.
He scratched Vinny Desharnais on his birthday. It's not nice behavior.
It's not nice, but it worked.
I'll tell a story someday. I was in a coach's room once, and this is the true story, where a kid came in. He was a young kid in the league, but pretty well-known kid, and he came into the head coach, who scratched him off the lineup. We put the lineup up on this morning skate. He came in literally crying. He's an adult. You're a 20-some-year-old
Derek
kid. Crying because grandma was there. Grandma was at the game, crying in the locker room. My grandma's here. And we all looked at the head coach going, okay, are you going to be the tough guy? What are you going to do? And the kid played that night. They made a late minute change.
It's bad behavior.
I don't know if I like the behavior.
Yeah, bad behavior.
So
That
you
was
just push
bad
the coach around, huh?
Yep.
Tough
Push the
scene.
coach around. My grandma's
no,
here.
respect
Hey, watch
your
this.
elders.
Oh, my grandma.
Respect your elders.
My
Do it
grandma's
for the
here.
grandma.
Buddy, I don't know. Anyway,
Sean Dursey got his ass fucking booed in front of his grandparents, and now his grandparents don't go to his games anymore.
and he wouldn't give a jersey. What happened to the jersey? So I went to the
Yeah,
after
it's a
the
good
first
question.
appearance a few weeks ago. I went to the Coyotes. True, again, I went to the equipment managers who I worked with for a long time. Went to them. I said, "Hey, can I get a Desert Night jersey? Like Dursey promised it. Can I get it?" And you know what they said? Don't have them anymore. Morello came and took everything with a Coyote logo. Took it out of the store, and they don't have any of it. Gone.
Can
My
we
guys
get
are
our
gonna
kid? Can we get our guy who found the Shane Doan banner?
I'll get him on it. I will get him on it because he has been since fired. So maybe he's looking for a little opportunity. So
He
Honestly,
gets
though,
results.
Honestly, though, I wouldn't hate
does.
a inaugural season one-off Sean Dursey Utah jersey.
Utah jersey.
So he
Sick.
can still fulfill that need for us.
Yeah,
But
we'll get
yeah, I
Steelers
mean,
out.
the Coyotes not exactly the most well-run organization.
I'll also tell you,
so I'm
after
not-
we do
not
interviews
shocked.
with people, typically, not always, but sometimes you get like an Instagram follow from the subjects or whatever. I don't believe Dursey, despite, I think, loving us in the moment. I don't know if I have a way of like hitting up Sean Dursey right now.
I don't know if I got the Instagram follow. from
Yeah.
Dursey.
Crickets from him. How important is that, the Instagram thing and Instagram and TikTok? Like, people are telling me now that I no longer have a team, that but the Coyotes are gone, that I need to boost my online social presence.
Well,
Is
I
it
think
Insta important?
for boosting your own thing, yes, but like what I'm talking about there is like if we work with somebody or if you do an interview with
follow you.
somebody and you make any sort
Follow
of
you.
impression or connection with them, it's always good. I mean,
Yes.
like when I cover the team, like you get like players' numbers and stuff, so
It's a
you
good
could.
sign when
Yeah.
you log on and you see that a player
Yeah.
has followed you after an interview
I
or
like it.
something. But
But
no.
it's useful for getting stuff and for doing things.
Cool.
In your case, I told you privately, and I'll say it publicly now, you've got such a leg up on everybody because when it comes to content creation, there's something that you're good at. There's something that you know you're good at. And a lot of being a creator is finding what you do that people can connect with. You already know that. So that's half the battle. Just build things or just make things and your following will come. I promise.
Okay,
As
DJ,
somebody with no following.
copy that.
Yeah. And we're going to collab on some goofy creative stuff we've discussed.
Can't wait.
yes.
By the way, are you guys? You are going to the draft? I'm hearing.
I believe
right?
we're going to the draft. We're figuring out whether we're going to do like a media day type thing for the.
Am I going to stay with Sean? Can I get can we roll a rollaway bed with me? I will use a sleeping bag because right now we have no budget left in Arizona, so we'll have to talk to the DePaws about maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down for cost-cutting measures and also for content. You and Sean bunking together would be awesome.
Me,
Asking
you, and
Circa
Shane.
if they have bunk bed.
Yeah, just like, can we build
bedrooms?
bunk beds? If we pay you more for the room, can we?
Oh man, if we get double bunk beds in a hotel
The
room at
stepbrothers.
Circa in Vegas, would be
might need
incredible content.
CCTV, like we need live feed at all times.
Just a
We would.
24-hour stream every single day of our hotel room with double bunk beds. That would
I
be
bet.
incredible.
I've been talking about sharing a room with Shane too, Petey. So the three of us might need
Oh,
to.
buddy, the three of us
Share
throw
a
it in a
bed.
circle.
Why
Let's
don't
go.
more hotel rooms have bunk beds? Like they have
I don't
double
know.
beds.
I've stayed in. You just gotta find them. Like when
Yeah,
when I was
they're-
a kid, there was a number of times where like if
Really?
my family went on a vacation, we would have like a hotel with bunk beds. Type of deal.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm in hotels. I'm in. And are you guys going to Edmonton? If DJ, are you going to Edmonton if they are in the Stanley Cup Finals? Are you making-
There might be some things. I don't want any of us typically to do anything to do solo missions, but we haven't discussed it yet. Maybe there could be a situation where like I could be a
I
correspondent.
feel
I
like,
like
there's
that
certain
idea.
situations where it calls for solo missions.
It's
Yeah.
appropriate to
I
send
I think
one
that's
per.
okay.
If
So
the Buffalo
there's
think
Sabres
it's
were in
what
the
we
a
do.
Stanley
team
Cup-
we were talking about yesterday that
Yes.
I need that we need to get something from for a video
Yes.
that's been in the works for a million years, and it could just be knocked out by one of us going down there and accumulating some stuff. Having an Edmonton person, I wouldn't hurt, but we also just have so many Edmonton people by now.
Yeah, but
Oh, okay.
like it's different when you
not you,
experience
though.
it, and like if you go and you do
The
stuff
oil
for
man.
What Chaos and not do it for like Oilers Nation every day,
Yeah.
I don't think that's bad behavior.
The problem
don't either.
is Boston Celtics are in the NBA Finals, and the budget for fun shit could get eaten up by that. But I think I would rather do a
This man
Edmonton
talking
trip.
about bleeding our budget for
Not our budget. Anything. So I'll just say
your
right now,
personal
like we don't
budget.
have
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
believe we have a budget to go to Edmonton. We could hit up the All City people and ask. I bet we're getting a. What are you talking about, bud?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I know the answer.
So this would be coming out of Dave's pocket, which I would do, but it's like
You
let's
also
go.
wanna
Like
see
Super
Buddy,
Chat's
you on
going
the
to fund
streets.
DJ's trip to Edmonton.
DJ, can you see him in that sea of orange outside the building though, where everybody watches on the big screen?
Moss
The
Pit.
Moss Pit. Yeah, it's got a name.
Fire! Can you imagine DJ
It's
right in
got
front
like
of that?
4 of them we found out yesterday too. There are secondary.
There's overflow
secondary
overflow
mosh
Moss pits.
That's fire! I can see DJ right in the front row. Yes, please.
What
give
if
me
we
a-
the
did? We
dance
could also
circle.
build a moss pit in New England. We could build our own moss pit. Just be like, let's go out to the because we're also doing live streams for all the Stanley Cup Final games. So like we just have Sean and Pete
You think
in
we could fill out
here.
like a theater with
This seat is empty, and they just go and check in like the New England moss pit, and it's just
That'd
like
be
me
awesome.
and my nephews.
like
pay
Oil
attention.
Nation? Oil
It would be a lot
Nation
of fun.
East Coast chapter. And
You're,
you got, like 6 or 7 guys
can-
there. I like
Am
it.
I telling tales out of school to say that
What's that?
you're going to the Stanley Cup Final?
I will be at the Stanley Cup Final, so I will be there. And if it depends on how long you guys stay on air after the final buzzer, but I could give you reports from like the trucks out in the parking lot by the outside
mean,
the rink every night.
We'll play it fast and loose, but here's
Yeah,
the
I'm
thing.
there.
We're all rooting for a pizza star man. Shout out David Bowie. We're all rooting for Edmonton, Florida.
No.
Sean, this should have piqued your fancy. I had it. Actually, I figured it out once you basically spelled it out for me. It is the second longest trip that could exist distance-wise for the Panthers and Oilers to meet each other. The only one that would be crazier
Vancouver.
would be Vancouver. And it's just barely by a bit because Vancouver is further west, but Edmonton is further north.
But there's
So-
more direct flights to Vancouver than there are to Edmonton.
Of course.
Because I have looked, because I'll be flying into Calgary and then take. So my point is for a guy I'd love to see the series on TV, but when you actually have to fly it literally every other day, not as
Horrible.
excited as you might think. Like the
No.
Florida
Boston,
Dallas.
Vancouver was horrible
I
for
did
a
it- I
7-game
did
it
series.
I did it once and it was fucking grueling.
But that
Where'd
was
you go
wasn't
from,
that
Pete?
that was Tampa, Colorado?
That was Denver to Tampa.
Pretty
which
bad.
Is not, which is
but
not
it's
not
the worst,
that bad.
the worst hotel or the worst airport in the league, right, PD?
Denver.
Oh,
Right?
Denver.
Denver's
Oh,
airport
hate
is the
Denver.
fucking worst.
And
It
it's
is
in New
like the
Mexico.
worst in the
Yeah,
America.
it's a state away from
Yeah, it's a state
actual
away. In
Denver.
New Mexico. You need to take
And-
another flight just get from the goddamn
And I
airport.
don't want to get too deep into airport talk, but like all of the fucking gates file into one grand like
Oh my
room.
god, I didn't even think about
It's
that.
insane.
Security?
And their TSA pre-check basically runs on business hours,
Horrible.
which is unbelievable.
That's
Yeah.
It's genuinely. I'm
and
a big
because of the
airport
thin
guy.
air, it's always like a rougher landing in
It just
Denver. It's a horrible airport.
But
Well-
you did it, Pete, and you survived it. And I'm thinking, and so all I do is because I have to go to one city to the other. So all I'm thinking of, I do want to see good hockey, but all I'm thinking of is Florida, Dallas, direct, 3 hours, buddy,
so
warm,
easy.
nice. Like, yes, please give me that. Even New York, like I don't mind New York, but you guys go all the time. Like, it's a hassle. It's a pain in the ass getting from the airport downtown, and just give me Miami and Dallas for my job.
man. Well, next week we'll know, and next week
We'll know.
actually, depending on if we're doing anything together, next week is media day.
Oh, fire.
So who knows where any of us
Yeah.
will be?
Yeah,
I might
look,
just
I
go
mean,
down
Denver
there to
airport
see
has
you.
improved. It
Let's
seems like they
go.
were constantly under construction, and apparently that construction has led to something that has improved the airport.
Who
we'll
knew?
see. Who knew?
Congratulations.
They built it the Penguins way. They were just gifted a new airport, basically.
Is that how it worked? Just like Crosby?
Yeah,
See,
they
I
just
follow
fell
a lot
into
of
Sidney
connects to the
Crosby.
dots.
They also have the
Yep.
Illuminati bunker underneath the airport.
In Colorado, yeah, they do.
Yeah.
If you follow the signs, yeah.
Well, you're the best, Petey. We appreciate
Thanks,
you.
guys, for
Love
having me
talking
on.
to
Can't wait. I can't
Tell
wait
you
for
what's
what's coming
gonna
up for the
happen.
playoffs. Can't wait.
you.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's going to happen is we're going to finish
Okay.
up this podcast at some point. Hopefully, maybe send you some text messages.
Fantastic.
All right.
I've got my
Bye,
number here.
Petey.
Thanks,
Love ya.
guys.
Love
Thanks
ya.
for having me on. I appreciate y'all.
What a guy.
You're the best.
He's so great. And I like to think like, oh, he's so great with us, but he's so great on everything he does. It is for sure not an us thing. We're just very excited that he's on with us.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it many times, and I guess I'll say it every time we have him. Just wish that he was our third chair.
Sean's our third chair.
Sean's
Yeah,
our
but I'm not on
producer,
camera.
but like also the third voice. I don't want to take away Sean's voice. I just want to have.
I would say I'm third voice, no chair.
You're sitting in a
I'm
chair.
sitting in a chair,
Sean,
but not
I'm
eight.
seeing some shorts. What are they on right now?
My legs.
So they're on your legs, but they're also on a chair.
I could just start standing for shows.
That would be bad behavior.
Yeah, not that bad behavior.
What if you started kneeling for shows to just be like, I don't like the team you're talking
I guess
about?
Jimmy Stewart stands for his entire fucking show, and he's like the best in the business.
I think he sits
He doesn't
up
stand for the whole
high.
time. Yeah,
Oh,
he has a
really?
high. He has like a high chair.
I think he has like a very high chair.
Should we get you a high chair, you little baby?
We need a high desk.
Update by the way to the Felger and Maz guests. So 2 days ago they had JJ Redick, who was very rude, very snarky, very awful to them. Yesterday they had Kendrick Perkins, and wouldn't you know it, they got along handsomely.
Yes, Kendrick Perkins.
Perk is perfect for those guys.
I did a radio hit this morning, and so I woke up quite early, and I did something that I never do. And
Watch Get Up?
I watched Get Up.
Same.
And the best part about Get Up, or at least like the small sample size that I have, is that Kendrick Perkins acts like he does not want to be there. It's
Oh,
amazing.
really?
Not that he acts like he doesn't want to be there. He acts like he's not on a nationally televised show that is extremely popular. He was like leaning back in his chair and like half out of the screen. Like he was doing the Nick Merckx, like half of his face on the
Nice
screen.
reference.
And they were like, Perk, you still there? And then Greeny would be like, all right, we got to go to commercial. And Perk would get all pissy, be like, I got stuff that I still want to say. And Greeny would be like, don't worry, Perk. We will get to you on the other end of the break.
That happens a lot. Today he was having a tough time during my favorite segment, Is That McNuts, where they ask Monica McNutt if something is nuts. And Monica McNutt says whether or not she finds it nuts. And
My
whole time after they were done with it, Perk was like, I was waiting for you guys to go to me to ask if some of these things were nuts. I got thoughts on them.
I love that
He's like, has no idea that Monica McNutt's name is Monica McNutt. And he was like, how come you only ask her if it's nuts?
That's awesome.
Also, like every time they were on Perk, they would cut to Monica, and she would just make a face at something Perk was saying.
Monica McNutt, who is just a very beautiful person, so is making great faces anyway, like has amazing
Facial
facial expressions while
Would be
anything
terrible
is
on a
going
podcast.
What's that?
Would be terrible on a podcast because you'd miss like half of the
I
things.
mean, she calls Knicks games, so you're missing out. But then she posts after the games. She'll do like cell phone video during big plays, and she'll post them. And a lot of times she's like grabbing people and going at. She's the best.
We do have a super chat from John Evans, $10. Thank you very much, John. Says, I'm here for airport chat. Denver's airport TT is absurd. Love Detroit's and Columbus. What's TT?
Terminal
transportation?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
What's
Maybe?
TT, John Evans? But thank you for the super chat.
Columbus's
All right,
airport.
I'm glad that people like
Columbus's airport was crazy because they had a British PA announcer.
Oh,
which
yeah,
made
that was
no
so
goddamn
weird.
sense to me.
We were
It
walking through the
really
airport. Also, it
blew
was
my
a
mind.
fucking ghost town when
It
we were
was,
there.
but all of Columbus was at that point.
That's true. I liked Columbus a lot. Great city.
So did I. I was just very thrown off. It felt very like they were overcompensating by having a British PA announcer. Which is like,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
a fine city. You don't need to overcompensate.
Men's bathroom in Denver is perpetually covered in like an inch of piss.
I don't like
TikTok.
Detroit's airport only
that's not true.
because the way it's set up is like it's like a straight shot. And so you could have situations where like you land in gate 13 and your next gate is in gate like 112. You're like, here's an hour walk you got to do.
Speaking of piss, do you mind filibustering for like a minute? While
Yes.
Okay.
Pete is.
You don't? You do mind?
I can do it easily
Okay,
in my
great.
sleep. All right. While Pete is gone, let's do Bauer rankings because today is a Bauer Friday. So, Sean, let's do our Bauer rankings without Pete. I will start off by saying Stonks down on wearing a Vancouver Canucks jersey to a game that matters. Terrible behavior. Big ol' risk. Nikhil Alexander-Walker wore a Tiger Williams jersey to the Western Conference Finals, Game 5. Nikhil Alexander-Walker, of course, of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Guess what happened? They were eliminated.
Well, you want to know why I think it's bad behavior? Do you know where he's from?
I believe Toronto.
Toronto, Canada. What are you doing?
So shouldn't you be? Oh, you're saying you should
Like,
be.
you should be a Leafs fan. What happened then?
Well, Leafs, if anything. But I was doing a Sportsnet hit last night, and Canada is doing the Edmonton thing, which they should be doing.
Okay, well then, I mean, double bad behavior then.
Right. So I would have, when you said why weren't you wearing, I expected that he would be wearing an Oilers jersey.
Well, no, I just like, well, if you're going to be wearing a team that is no longer in the playoffs, Vancouver, it seems like the worst team that you could. I mean, I guess Calgary would have been worse, but like, you got a team that got eliminated by the team that is currently Canada's team, and you're from Toronto.
Pete, as Pete sits down, how do you feel about Nikhil Alexander-Walker wearing a Canucks jersey to a big playoff game? It was a do-or-die game, and his team lost and was eliminated.
And he's from Toronto.
The last two teams to wear Vancouver Canucks jerseys have been eliminated for doing so.
Yeah, but the Vancouver Canucks made it further than we expected them to, and they did not embarrass themselves.
This was the conference final, though.
I think it would have been worse behavior. You said he's from Toronto. If he had worn a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey, that would have been easier to
play the game.
Well,
right.
I mean, yeah,
but he could have forced the game. He could have come back in the series only to lose at Game 7.
Yeah, I would say at least you have the defense of I'm from Toronto.
Yeah,
like bad behavior still maybe, but like
if you're from Toronto, you know that you probably shouldn't wear a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey when you're entering a must-win playoff game.
True.
That would be ultimate you don't know ball behavior.
I mean, it is on brand because handshake emoji, Vancouver and the Timberwolves overreacting to sporting things because, as we brought up the other day, them acting like they won a NBA championship when they won a play-in game that one time was hilarious.
I also thought you were going to say the last two players that have worn last two NBA players that have worn hockey jerseys on their entrances have been promptly eliminated because what was it? Max Strus?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Max Strus. That was
the jersey that he wore. That team was still in the playoffs. Ended up winning.
It's true.
Like
but his team didn't.
Right.
His team didn't, but at least he was like not wearing a loser jersey.
I think that Max Strus like knows ball at least.
Random choice.
It was
jerseys.
just a troll Boston. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a troll Boston, but also ball. If you're wearing a Panthers jersey right now, ball. They're the best team remaining, I think, or they
weren't at the
best.
time.
They were.
It was up in the air. It could have aged doubly bad because his team got eliminated and Florida still could have got eliminated at the time.
Right. John, in general, I bet you are very pro wearing other sports' jerseys as player entrances, right?
Yeah, big time. I mean, hockey jerseys are just the best. Like, they're awesome. So, I love those, like, just as like a fashion piece, those old red, yellow, and black Vancouver jerseys. Like, I love them. It's just the timing of it's not great.
I do feel
Cam Neely era.
I do feel like hockey jerseys are coming back into style.
Yeah.
In
Drake
terms
wears
of
And the public conscious.
streetwear.
They are referenced in the season finale of Hacks.
Oh, really?
Derogatory.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Drake famously
They already
wore
made an
a-
appearance in the this season of Hacks because Austin Matthews was in the writer's room. A guy in the writer's room earlier in the season was wearing an Austin Matthews jersey.
Oh my
Is
God.
it the same guy?
It's the same guy. So something happens involving this person. They reference this guy, and Ava says, the guy who wears hockey jerseys in public or something like that.
Oh,
and I was
shit.
like, Ava, love ya. Cut it out.
Once again, it was a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey, so easy to ridicule.
Yes, but if she had said the guy wearing a Matthews jersey to something that...
Well, she doesn't know puck.
She doesn't know ball because she doesn't understand the process.
Fair.
That's a great joke in that show.
Okay.
But frustrating. Hacks up, though, because they got renewed for season 4. Great season. I would say season 1 of Hacks, A+. Season 2 of Hacks, like C. Season 3 of Hacks, A+ again. I didn't love season 2. I wasn't that excited for season 3.
I thought season 2 was pretty good.
Season 3 was great, though. So very excited there. And
Very weird format for how they roll out seasons of Hacks. 2 at a time.
2 at a time until the 1.
And then they're like dead in a month.
2 at a time and then 1 finale.
Oh,
so
really?
they did 2, 2, 2, 2, and then
so
episode
9
9
episodes this season?
9, yeah.
Was it in like an hour long?
40 minutes.
All right.
It was a very Hacks finale, though.
Okay.
And they did something. Can we just say, you haven't, it's not going to spoil anything. The reason I didn't like season 2 as much is I was like, you have to do something with the Kayla character. She can't just be I fucked everything up. In this season, they developed the Kayla character, and she's awesome. There was so much promise there, and they made good on it.
Okay, good. Stonks up for me, College Football 25. On my first edition of Bauer Rankings, I think that I put Stonks down.
You did, because you hadn't seen anything.
Because I hadn't seen anything. They had the gameplay reveal trailer today, the deep dive on the gameplay. The only thing that I've been saying the entire time when it comes to College Football 25, I'm not buying in until I see the gameplay.
Yep.
All this news about like who's on the cover, the presentation elements, blah, 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 blah. Show me something. Show me the actual game. They had the deep dive today. I'm so fucking sold. I'm so fucking happy. It looks incredible. I'm stamping a must buy. I'm stamping a must buy for people who don't even fucking play video games.
I'll buy
you. That's what I'm saying.
I'm buying the game.
Will you buy a console? Buy a console. Why don't
How many
you
things do I have to fucking buy? I'll buy the game.
buy a console?
I'll buy the game.
You can't play the game if you don't have a console.
Buy the game for me then.
Why aren't you a video game guy? You like video games.
I have too many other things that I can
do. What?
Like, I don't drink for the same reason that I don't play video games.
Productivity?
Like, it's going to take up other like I fuck around in too many other areas that I can't have the video games be an area where I fuck around.
But drinking is essentially like a productivity sucker, productivity ruiner.
If I'm sitting around my apartment with my brain off, I'm playing guitar.
You can do both.
I feel like I'd be really bad at video games if I were playing guitar while I was playing video games.
You could simulate games and you could just watch the computer play.
I mean, I do
play
that.
Guitar Hero.
Yeah, so Guitar Hero would be the obvious thing. But like, I would simulate seasons and then pick up the guitar while I'm simulating seasons.
Yeah,
and I would just draft.
But you loved Madden back in Madden's heyday. Why don't you be an NCAA football guy?
This is the time. Yeah, this is the time. It's going to come out in July when we're not doing as much.
You got the summer off.
This is the time. If you were going to get back into gaming,
what are you going to be doing this summer?
Is the time.
I have big plans this summer.
What are you doing?
I'll tell you what, they don't involve video games. Respectfully, I have no problem with people who play video games. It's just not something that I do. And I mean, now I feel like I'm borderline.
I'm
lowercase a being attacked.
You have the energy of like I will never play video games. I have never played video games.
I'm not saying I will never. I'm saying I don't play. I'm not a gamer. And I do, like, there are things that I'd still like to do a little more. I'm still having a tough time cracking the fiction reading egg. I'd love to implement that a little more in my life. I read a ton.
I do
but
want
it's
to read
always
this
fiction. So
I'm
like
not a fiction guy.
If
it's always nonfiction.
I'm sorry, it's always nonfiction.
Huge nonfiction guy.
Right.
I would rather, if I'm going to be reading, I'd rather learn.
I'm mostly
exactly. So Sean.
So as like
as
a movie guy,
my pants may be longer, but same cloth.
As a movie guy, I like the nonfiction game because it often leads to movies, and I like being the asshole that's like, oh yeah, that's going to be a good movie.
You mean you like
it's
you're
helpful
a fiction
for me
guy
as your
because it leads
friend?
to movies.
Say again.
You're a fiction guy because it leads.
That's
to
what
movies.
I said. Yeah. So like, I'm of the opposite cloth. I like fiction.
Yes.
And I also like nonfiction. But
And you know what I begin doing tomorrow?
Big biography.
So I've the weather's turned nice. I've gotten back into blading. Tomorrow begins another very time-consuming endeavor of mine in the summer.
Rollerblading?
Tomorrow? Nope. Said that. I've already been blading. Tomorrow begins sailing season. Got to get out on the high seas. Can't play video games on the high seas. It's rude.
Yeah, but
DJ, turn the Game Boy off.
Doesn't sailing and rollerblading really wipe you out?
Yeah, so then I don't do this, but theoretically, sleep would be the move.
I guess if it wipes you out to that degree, but man, nothing beats being wiped out and going home and crashing on the couch and just playing some video games.
Agreed. It is very nice.
Maybe
nice.
No, I'm gonna bring a fiction book tomorrow.
If you're reading fiction, Kite Runner, Colette Hosseini, favorite book of all time.
I've heard of it.
Kite Runner, The Kite Runner by Colette Hosseini.
What's it about?
It's about Ben Franklin.
Close.
No, that's a kite flyer.
It's about the main character is like a kid growing up in Afghanistan. It's hard to really explain what it's about without kind of ruining it, but it's just a very good book about it's like a coming of age story of a kid growing up in Afghanistan, his relationship with his dad and all this kind of stuff. It's genuinely the best book I've ever read. It was the one book I read in high school where they sent us home to read first 2 chapters or whatever over Thanksgiving break. I read the whole thing.
You cruised?
in a day. Just sat in front of the fire, read the whole thing.
If you guys are nonfiction guys in books, I think you would go for simulators in video games.
A lot of simulator discourse this week because the Patriots said that they're going to have Drake May
VR.
do the VR simulation thing. And I hate to say, this is a take where Mike Felger was 1,000% correct. He said, I don't want him doing the VR thing. I'd rather him out on the field, blah, blah. Or I would just prefer he get those reps in real life as opposed to virtual reality. That's fine. Whatever. Who cares about that take? Everybody pushed back and they said, if like VR simulators are stupid, then how about the military and pilots using flight simulators, which people really thought they won the argument with that. It was Sean, you know where this is going, right?
Is it the cost of...
If you mess, he was like, the reason they do flight simulators is because if you don't know how to fly a plane and you do it wrong, everyone fucking dies.
And it's like $2 billion per plane.
Yeah. I don't like when Mike is set up that easily to be like, I'm clearly the smart one, you idiots. And
That's
really
so
smart
funny.
people were saying, they were like, oh, what about flight simulators? And he was like,
that's very
Holy
fair.
shit.
That is very fair. Yeah, it's the cost of both of like fatality and monetary cost way down.
Also
on football simulators.
Like if like the enemy sees that Drake May is weak, doesn't do a whole lot. If Russia sees that America's planes are falling out of the sky, probably has bigger ramifications.
yeah. I gotta say, I love when we get to like late Bauer rankings on
And it's just a
Fridays
conversation.
because it's just oops, all grab ass.
Yeah.
But it's a nice way to wind down the week. It's
Agreed.
a nice way to digest a whole lot of hockey conversation.
What are
that's
your
been had.
non-fiction books? Like, what do you? Someone asked for non-fiction recommendations.
Nonfiction? Oh, just
it's
like
all music.
any
stuff,
music
right?
biography.
Okay, yeah, I'm a big sports biography guy.
Oh, I got.
Just go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say because also one of my trending up Bauer rankings, the Negro Leagues. I read a book.
yeah.
I'm forgetting the name of the title, but I read a book by a umpire from the Negro Leagues, and it was like one of the best books I've read. It was very fascinating. So if you're a baseball person and you're wanting to learn a little bit more about the Negro Leagues, which by the way, just got to put this out here: if the Negro Leagues weren't valid, neither were Major League, neither were the rest of the pro baseball at the time because no one was playing the best. Anyways, but very good. But Negro Leagues, they are officially a part of the Major League Baseball records, and we got a bunch of new record holders and stuff, which I think is awesome.
I've also got a backlog of nonfiction books to read too. Like
I have so many books that I have
so
not
many
read.
unread, but and I don't love that. Like, if you want to be like a hoarder or whatever, that's fine. But like, get use of what you're like. If you have a lot of stuff, that's okay, I guess. But try to get some use out of it. I don't like just having like a bunch of books sitting around. Like, I don't own any records that I don't listen to, you know? So I don't love having books that I don't read.
Speaking of which, Stonk's up on the Beatles. I've been listening to the Beatles.
What?
I haven't done like a full deep dive, but I've been like, let me revisit and see if this does anything for me.
Was this a product of our like Nirvana conversation? We had?
Get your good eggs wet. Yeah.
Yeah. I've lightly just kind of ventured into that territory to be like, all right, could it be an acquired taste now? Turns out, I think the Beatles are pretty good. Breaking
Hot
news.
take.
Breaking news, the Beatles showing promise. Are you... Hey, I made you a playlist
I haven't
to
done that.
listen to. Okay, so how are you listening? What are you listening to?
I'm just like bouncing around. I threw on like, the Spotify playlist that like, this is the Beatles, and turned it on shuffle.
Pete Blackbird.
It's so Blackbird was another one of the songs that I was like, it turns out all of these songs that like I was hopping around in Spotify, like I'd heard them before, or like they at least sounded familiar, which makes sense because Beatles quite popular. I'm sure they get a lot of
Like
run.
my Queen experience.
Yeah,
It's
so
like, oh, they have a lot of really well-known songs.
Yeah, so very familiar and pretty good band.
Beatles are legitimately, like, no cap. Beatles are legitimately the best band ever. It's insane. Like, music and sports are so different where I always, if you're going to get into any debate, any sort of like barbershop, kind of like this guy or that guy, I'm like, sort by age. Whoever's the newer one is probably better.
Thank
like
you, LeBron
Bobby
James.
Orr would suck right now.
Yeah.
LeBron James
and
is the
like
GOAT.
it's like LeBron is the GOAT.
It's not even a question.
McDavid is the GOAT.
Stop being losers.
And
It's
I
just
like
a
with
fact.
Oilers fans, by the way, that I regularly mention that McDavid is the GOAT, and nobody's like, oh, gotta wait till he wins. Like they appreciate like
Shohei
sure
Ohtani.
but they
He's
also
the GOAT.
can kind of they win no matter what.
Who?
Oilers fans.
Oilers fans would not be the ones to push back against McDavid being the GOAT because they watch him every night. It's the neutral fans that would push
But
back
yeah,
against
you
him.
are
No,
right. They
but
win no matter what.
I'm saying the counter is
Another
no
Oiler.
Gretzky's the GOAT. So
Yeah.
they kind of win either way. But with music, it is so the opposite. There are a lot of wonderful musicians now, but truly the best ones and the most innovative ones were the ones who were kind of turning the page from like the early 60s to the mid 60s because they just figured out all this new shit. And some of the music that was made in the 60s, like by bands by the Beatles, like legitimately has not been done or topped since. It's crazy. It's been 65 years-ish, like 60 years since a lot of this shit was made. And unlike in sports, an athlete today would fucking wipe the floor with a prime athlete in their 60s. But you give me like Paul McCartney in 1967, unless it's somebody modern-ish like Prince, that motherfucker's gonna they're gonna get the ball back every time and fucking beat him 10-0.
I don't feel like that kind of like comparison applies like sports to music because classic music ages so much better than like classic sports.
Oh yeah.
And I think a lot of it's like the equipment, the development of the game, things like that. Like music does progress and grow and shit like that, but old music doesn't become bad or aged.
I also think
nothing
there's-
worse than when people like the NBA, remember a few years ago, they were like, happy birthday, Bob Cousy. And we were like, what the fuck? Don't show clips. Don't show clips. It's on Twitter, motherfucker. And then everyone just fucking crushed Bob Cousy. They were like, oh my God, this guy sucks.
That's one of my favorite things on the internet is like, this is your GOAT. And it's just guys like the guys that Jordan was playing. And it's just like, oh, every era had
And
bums.
like, you know, like the broadcast quality or like equipment and stuff like that being lower end and kind of shitty is
Shaq used
not
to break
as,
rims.
huh?
Games used to get delayed for 20
Yeah.
minutes because Shaq was breaking
Well,
the
I like
equipment.
that.
I mean,
That
I
was
like it, but I'm
great
just
for
saying, different game.
entertainment. But it's not as endearing as it is with music. Like music, that becomes like a feature rather than a bug with some of these older musicians and older songs. It's like, oh shit, it's got that like vintagey feel that like new artists are trying to replicate. No sports broadcast is trying to be like, yo, let's go 360p for this game to improve the broadcast.
Yeah, I mean, music, it's a great, like music now when you go to record it, all right, you press record, it gives you a count and click, 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 click. There's a click track to everything. Even like Nirvana, we were talking about the other day. I don't know if we were doing it on or off the podcast. Nirvana only recorded to a click track on one song. And Dave Grohl was like offended that the producer asked them to use a click track because he was like, I'm the drummer. I keep the beat. What do we need a click track for? Everything now is recorded to not just a click track, a grid that when you're done, everything gets lined up so it all kind of fits perfectly. That's ruined people's ears because now if they hear anything that's slightly out of time, they're like, that's a little weird. Back then,
Like
as you said,
endearingly raw.
that was the feature that like a band that was really tight playing together was still a little out of sync with each other, and like they would find pocket as a result, and it all sounded so fucking great. And now you're right, people will say like, how can I sound like that? And you have to spend a lot of money to do it now because you got to buy a bunch of old janky ass equipment from a million years ago.
The thing I like about like the best in music conversation is that people don't pretend by and large that like numbers mean anything. Whereas like if people will talk about Jordan and LeBron and be like, Jordan has more rings. It doesn't really mean anything because if that mattered, then Bill Russell would be your GOAT. But like
It matters.
it matters to a certain extent. But like
It's
in
not
music,
the end all be all.
no one is saying that like Drake is the greatest of all.
Oh
like, the
no, I
greatest
had
musician
somebody.
of all time.
I had somebody send me something. A friend who I like. I like some of my friends. A friend sent me when Midnights came out by Taylor Swift. it broke some streaming like immediate thing, and she sent it to me, and she was like, "Well,
Okay,
and I
people that
want to
actually know
say,
what they're
well,
talking
we need
about.
to do something about white people." Like
think
this is like that's what I take from that. Not that like this album that nobody had ever heard before is automatically good because people listened to it right away. They were excited about something. But
it's the same with music and movies. Like box office numbers don't mean fucking shit.
I
Does
love-
anybody think that like The Avengers is like the
Exactly.
the fucking peak
Avatar.
of cinema?
yeah,
No.
I do.
While we're talking about music, I have to Bauer Rankings trending down, stonks down, however you want to put it. Darren Waller.
Oh, my god.
fake Kelsey Plum.
Oh, brother, one of the worst things I've ever seen.
I hope he's okay.
I hope he's
yes.
okay too. That was my reaction. I was just like, I guess whatever you got to do to process what you're going through, because he's clearly going through a lot. But
I don't.
I just know how this is going to get used against him.
Yeah.
It just like does not. If you were,
I wish he didn't do it.
if you were thinking about it a little bit, which you had to because this was a full blown music video that was produced. At some point, I would have had this is not going to go well for me. This is not going to help me.
I would have given him the advice, hey, sit on it for 6 months. If you still want to put it out, go for it.
I would have at least made the woman blonde. You just can't make it that much of a fake Kelsey Plum.
Making any sort of decision directly after a breakup is very risky.
And also,
you're at your most vulnerable self after a breakup, and
if you were like Damian Lillard or
you tend
something,
to make some bad decisions.
if you were like Damian Lillard or something and have like a track record of making music, and you can make music that's not like inherently embarrassing, like go for it, I guess. But like the music itself, when you remove all the context from it, is embarrassing for
So
Darren
that's
Waller.
what else. And now that this is coming from someone who recreationally makes music, and admittedly, it's a little weird. So I don't know if it's good or whatever it is. I listened to that song and I was like, fuck, man. And I don't think a lot of songs are bad. I think a lot of songs are boring, but I was like, fuck, this is a bad song. You don't sound good, dude.
Yeah.
Like, fuck what you rapping. Who produced you? Like, who are you
It's
working
just
with?
like, you got-
How can you fix this? And then the Kelsey Plum thing. My favorite tweet recently, or my favorite recent tweet was when the Darren Waller and Kelsey Plum thing came out, which I typically don't root for us to find out things like that. That's their personal lives. But somebody posted a picture of Kelsey Plum, who's beautiful, and said, imagine fumbling this, or imagine fumbling her. And like a scrawny white guy quote tweeted with like, this is a beautiful person, and I don't have much of a social life. I can completely imagine.
I can't imagine anything else.
Yeah, right. Like they put there like the easiest thing to imagine is me fumbling her.
I mean, to be honest, like I guess the point of that being like, I'm not a good enough football player to ever get a handoff to fumble it. So like, I can't fumble it because I would never even be in the same room. But
I saw somebody say he should stick to dropping passes. And I was like, that's
the
tough.
acting in it was also not.
But the song was about like heartbreak or just loss, love lost. I think that people
Stab in the
can.
back a
I
little bit.
hope he got something out of it. I hope it was like something that he needed to get off his chest. It was cathartic, but I wish he didn't.
My
do
thing
it.
is like, Asia Wilson is playing that shit in the locker room next time Kelsey Plum shows up.
Oh yeah.
Like they're gonna fuck with Kelsey Plum so much over that. And I don't know. I don't really know like what Darren Waller is like, so I don't know if people are gonna be. He himself has had like a very tough life at points, so I don't really know how like people are gonna go at him for it. But I could see a world in which that guy shows up to the locker room on the first day and people are playing.
Oh,
that
no.
thing.
How does
No,
it feel
you
to have a
can't.
bad song written about you? That must suck.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think his teammates are going to do
you
that.
can't. If you're a teammate of Darren Waller and you play that shit to like mock him, that's extremely bad behavior. Don't do that shit.
It just depends on the relationship. Because like if my best friend were to do something like that, I'm making fun of him for
Maybe
it.
like a year down the line, like when he's in a better headspace, better,
Yeah.
more
It
okay.
like it
on his
depends
next,
on how he shows
next romantic relationship, when he can say, "All right, this was all for like the best."
Well, that's the other thing.
What
Not
about-
right now?
You are really shooting yourself in the foot for future relationships. Like,
No, not really. Everybody has their past.
well, my
I would be
past is not me
I would
making
be
a song
afraid if
about
I
my
was his
ex.
next girlfriend that like if we broke up.
That's
that
what I'm
he would-
saying.
Okay,
like,
yeah.
it's not. It's
She's gonna make a bad song about me.
I mean,
Not a great-
Taylor
it's
Swift
Taylor
has no
Swift, yeah,
problem.
I guess
Taylor
so.
Swift has no problem getting new boyfriends, and she's made a lot of bad songs.
Which,
Made a lot of good songs.
Yeah, people are
too.
going to pretend they're good songs, though.
that is true. No one's doing that during Waller. Actually, I did see Bomani Jones. Someone tweeted at him. He was like, I didn't think it was that bad. And he quote tweeted. He's like, you must be out of your fucking mind.
Sounds like a Bomani Jones
The guy
tweet.
doubled down. Yeah, the guy doubled down. Well, in Bomani Jones fashion, it was F space King. I think that's how he tends to do it. But
Bomani's a little weird on Twitter.
Yeah.
He's great on
fucking love
Twitter.
Bomani.
Before we get out of here, while we're on the music thing, have we discussed Eminem?
You're right. So I wanted to do Stonks lightly up
Yeah,
on
oh yeah.
Eminem because he has a new song out, Houdini. It samples Abracadabra by Steve Miller Band. Pretty cool behavior. The song isn't bad. It takes a couple of verses for him to get going and being Eminem-ish, which is going to be lightly offensive, but that's what it is.
I want that.
It's so
Eminem.
much better than like the last, we'll say, 14 years
So
of
that's what
Eminem.
I was going to say. I'm not going to say that it was good or that it was not that bad yet. All as I know is that it is so much better than anything he's put out over the last decade. That
The
it
Rick Rubin
sounds
era
good.
of Eminem
It sounds
is
like Eminem.
terrible.
Like this now Houdini sounds like Slim Shady.
This sounds like a 50-year-old
Which is the
Eminem
point.
or
Yeah.
whatever tried to make an Eminem song. I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take that too. And it's weird to me that Eminem is as much like defined by the cultural wave, I guess, because he is for sure like he got soft when like the cultural wave got soft.
Yeah.
And now that people are a little bit more okay being politically incorrect, Eminem, I think, has found more comfort in being politically incorrect, which is kind of weird because
That's what he
Eminem was the guy who was
That's
like,
what Slim
fuck
Shady
what
was all
anybody
about.
else thinks. I'm going to do some crazy shit.
I need to go like read the lyrics before I make like a full judgment
There's
on
some
it.
good lyrics.
Because
There's
like
some
I just
lightly
don't
whack
have
ones.
any interest really in Eminem being like a 50-year-old man getting like yelling at the clouds because people are woke now. Like
No, that's
don't have any
not
interest.
at all what it was.
well, that's what
right,
I'm saying.
yeah.
That's why I need to like read the lyrics because if
I think he was having fun with it, and I like Eminem being able to have fun with stuff and kind of making people go, oh shit, he said that or he went there.
Two things. The chat is putting DJ Bean lyrics in there, and I'm looking
Rock
at
on.
it. I was like, I didn't know. Some
Vineyard
of those
Nights,
lyrics are
baby.
fucking amazing. I gotta talk to the guy throwing the ball. That's like Tillman level esque. I gotta talk to the guy throwing the ball. No one else is saying shit like that. The other thing, Eminem. My biggest issue with him right now is his look. That he's dyeing
beard,
his
I don't like
hair
it.
and beard black when the classic vintage Eminem look was bleach blonde. You're probably gray right now. Just be gray, and you'll look like Eminem. He looks terrible now.
I just don't like the beard. Do whatever you want.
I think he
otherwise.
can do whatever he wants.
I mean, yeah.
I don't.
Fucking
I am
Eminem.
not live let and let live. I will say what you do, and then you got to do it. That's how I feel. That's my political stance.
I don't
just
know
miss
if
when
this is a
Eminem
fact.
ended MGK's career.
I don't know if this is a fact, but we have hit 100 minutes, and it might be the
We
first
have.
time in show history.
First time outside of
I was going to say we
explicitly
did it just
long
one
yeah.
stream,
time.
obviously, but yeah, this is the longest like daily show that we've done.
I can't
hour
believe that. It's
41
crazy.
minutes at this point.
Okay, well, we're going to be doing a lot of these. We're gonna do, for the Stanley Cup Final. We're going to do these in here, right? We should be.
We haven't really discussed it, but
It may be a little bit more complicated with my side work now.
Just
but
do it in there. I'm going to have side work too, but you can just
It's
go in
gonna
there,
look
or you could just do it here
It's going to
afterwards.
look horrible
How would it look horrible?
because
It'd look better than if
there's
you
a
did
bunch
it at
of
home.
boxes in there.
No, if you did it here, it'd look better than if you did it at home.
Here, yes,
Yeah.
but not. You said could do
I'm
it in
saying,
there.
yeah, right. We'll set something up in there or do it in here.
I
We'd have
mean,
to set
It's way
something up in
easier.
well, I mean, we've been having conversations about using that room forever.
there. I know.
It's as it's set up right now. I wouldn't think it was somewhere that Pete could do his side
No,
work, but
I don't. I agree.
I mean, there's no
We'll
reason
figure
that we
something
can't
out,
figure it
though.
out eventually.
All right. Well, Slate Grade tonight at 8:30 p.m. Are we 8:30 or 8 p.m., Sean? 8:30 p.m. We have the Edmonton Oilers visiting the Dallas Stars for Game 5 of the Western Conference Final. It is the easiest A of my entire life. Go Oilers, and we will talk to you.
We need a like spike.
Oh,
Oh,
do a like
right.
spike, Peter.
Like Spike, if you have survived 100 minutes of the show, we appreciate you a whole lot. So you should appreciate us as well by hitting that like button right below the video player. It's the thumbs up, And if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do that as well. We've got a bunch of stuff coming up, and we're going to make some standalone content for YouTube in between the conference finals and the Stanley Cup finals. So please make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel in order to get access to that, because you will be locked out if you're not subscribed.
Locked out. Join the Discord.
That's what
too.
you call a lie, because nothing is locked out on YouTube. But it is also free to subscribe. So even if you don't like this show, if you don't like us, still subscribe.
Subscribing
because you
changes
can
nothing
choose to
for you.
ignore us if you want. You don't
Subscribing
have to do
changes
anything.
nothing for you and means the world to us.
It gives you control.
That's right. We love you. Perhaps see you
Kendrick
this
Lamar.
weekend if a game goes into overtime. But if not, we will see you on Monday for another 100-minute episode.
Yes. But 100 minutes during the Stanley Cup final. Guaranteed, possibly. Probably. Not.
No
There's
guarantees.
only going to be one game to talk. We're going to have nothing to talk about during the
No
Stanley
Those,
Cup
guarantees.
those
final.
off days are going to be interesting. Like the show after the off day.
Get ready to learn extra Bauer rankings, buddy.
Hey.
Bye. Talk to you tonight or Sunday or Monday. Toodles.
We all silly like the mayor.